Hello my snacks, welcome back. My name is Jack. Cults are great, aren't they? That friend group you've been pushed into by your other friend and now you can't escape because it feels really awkward to, have to confront your friend like that. What's that? You think cults are terrible and you'd hate to be around one? Well, what if you happened to live underneath one? As the OP in today's story shares with us. It's a story that began about a month ago with a recent update, so we're gonna go straight from the beginning. So I live below a cult leader, and I fear I've angered her. I'm a 28-year-old female. I've lived in the same apartment for 4 years. My neighbors in the unit above me are a couple in their 30s who have lived there for about 3 years, with no issues between us since then. During the past 6 months, I've noticed some changes in their behaviors. At first, it was just a few days per week. I'd hear music with heavy bass accompanied by rhythmic jumping. I assumed they bought an exercise bike or something, but sometimes the jumping gets so intense that it shakes my overhead light fixtures. The jumping routine has been escalating to the point that it takes place every day, normally between 8 AM and 10 AM. I also noticed that they called 1-800-JUNK and got rid of a lot of nice possessions. However, I figured none of this was my business, so I kept my observations to myself. They say as they post a story to Reddit. No, but in all seriousness, depending on the rhythm of the jumping, I'd be concerned if it is a cult or a family that recently saw 50 Shades of Grey. About 3 weeks ago, everything escalated. Multiple times per week, on weekdays and during work hours, it sounded like they're hosting a mini Burning Man event in their apartment. Like the music is so loud and clear that it sounds as if I'm at a concert while sitting in my living room. There's clearly a lot of people involved because the jumping and stomping shakes multiple light fixtures and cabinets. The music is a mix of a new age, spiritual vibes, dance beats, and a male voiceover giving weird instructions like rebrand yourself, surrender yourself, stomp stomp in response. I've taken audio recordings on my phone and one video from the hallway during these events. I still didn't complain to the building, but I wanted evidence in case it became a regular thing. And lower into the post, the OP does actually share the link to what they've recorded. And just give a listen to this with me. Let me know, you think this is quiet enough for it to not be worth a complaint? Is that alright to you? It's not too loud, is it? Yeah, that's fine. You can you can watch TV in peace. It's relaxing. It's relaxing. Surrender yourself. Now you might have also noticed that interesting ceiling design. I assure you that is not on purpose. As the OP reveals later on in the story, her roof never used to look like that. And it's possibly due to the upstairs neighbors. This week, I've encountered a big problem. The couple above me has a private patio, which is directly above my bedroom. I came home from a 3-day trip out of town yesterday, and my ceiling is legitimately collapsing in one corner. Big chunks of plaster, as you saw, had fallen to the ground, and I saw a little water. I immediately called my superintendent, since I don't want to be buried alive by ceiling rubble if it gives out. When he came to check it out, he was shocked and mad. He said that the woman in the couple appears to be working with some people, doing workshops or something. He can see their patio from his apartment window and has watched the group do these dancing and jumping and dirt rituals out there on a weekly basis. He said they all dance and jump to the music and then spread dirt, along with something else, he doesn't know what it is, across the patio on a weekly basis. He believes that the dirt plus the unknown substance combo is getting through the wooden cracks, absorbing water and weighing down my ceiling. In order to fix the problem, my super said he had to go talk to the woman, check out their patio, and ultimately hire a contractor to pull up the wood to scrape out whatever the hell is causing my ceiling to fall. Now we might have that assumption that, okay, look, it's just a ceiling. I mean, you should be able to tell easily when it's going to be suddenly giving way. But the thing with ceiling walls, I don't know, in my experience or some stuff I've seen online, when ceilings are about to fall, there's no slow sloping of it. It sometimes just comes and crashes down. Though I guess on the bright side of things, if this is what you're hearing every single time you try and go about your day or wake up in the morning, I suppose you won't be getting any sleep anyway, so Why does it matter if you are afraid you're gonna die in your sleep when you won't be sleeping at all? It's fine, OP, just surrender yourself! OP, why don't you feel calm? You gotta feel calm, OP! Relax! So I could hear them talking from my room, and the woman sounded distraught and defensive. When my super left, he called me and warned me that she might try to come down to my apartment and demand to see the damage, but don't let her in. This was a little concerning to me. Like, is she a threat? I mean, the damage is real. I wouldn't mind showing her. She started playing her music again, relatively loud, kind of like a warning shot. Well, I mentioned the music and jumping to the super, and I had audio recordings. Well, he started begging me to send the evidence to the front office. It sounds like he wants them evicted. I said, okay, sure. Like, I mean, I hate to be a rat, but if I have to choose sides, I'll side with the building that dictates my annual rent price. He called me twice more that afternoon to confirm that I shared my evidence, and I said yes. Look, to be fair, this is someone's property, something they own. I very much understand when you want to kick out the people that are destroying your property. Shortly after everything went down, I left my apartment to run an errand. The woman was outside, just standing on the sidewalk, and stared at me the whole time as I walked by. I ignored her. This isn't my fault. But today, I went to run another quick errand in the neighborhood. When I returned, the couple was again standing on the sidewalk, both of them this time. They followed me into the building and then waited until I was opening my apartment door to confront me. They were both wearing creepy fake smiles. The woman has horse girl hair down to her waist. See, image for reference. I try to Google horse girl hair and this is this is all I could come up with. They started interrogating me. They asked, "Is your ceiling really collapsing? When did it start? Do you think it was related to the recent rainfall? Because our patio is just fine." I was a little uncomfortable. Were they waiting for me outside? Like, how did they know I even left the building? Why were they both standing there? Like, I've literally never seen them enter together in their 3 years of living here. But I have nothing to hide, so I confirmed the damage is pretty bad. I just don't want it to fall during the winter. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but hopefully the work will be done quick for everyone's sake. They seemed satisfied enough, so I said have a good day and shut my door. I'm getting the sense that they're nervous about what the contractors will find when they tear open their patio. Like, what the frick is up with dirt rituals? Who are these people she's working with? I don't know what they look like or why they're available to stomp around on weekdays. Anyway, the repair has been starting on both sides, but the contractors will come on Wednesday for the grand reveal of what's under the patio that's making my ceiling collapse. In the meantime, I feel like I need to be alert and keep my eyes out for these people as well as the couple. It's unusual for me to see them in general, especially twice in 2 days. They seem scared and in denial of the problem. They also have literally ambushed me. Hopefully it's over soon. And there's a quick update on the same post. The contractors came today and reported that there was, in fact, dirt and sludge visible below the neighbor's patio. However, thanks to the help of my internet sleuthing friend, I've gained a lot more insight into the realm that dwells above me. As one Redditor suggested, nice work, my neighbor is affiliated with multiple ecstatic dance communities, both international and local. The international group has planned events during which all cells of the organization host dance sessions simultaneously. It also has a YouTube channel that streams psytrance music 24/7. I listened to a portion of it, and a female voiceover declared, "You are becoming the game master." Meanwhile, the local groups seem to be more exclusive and more radical in their mindset. One of the local groups, hosted by my neighbor's good friend, conducts 3-day events that cost upwards of $400 for admission. Participation in all 3 days is mandatory. I get the impression they all sleep in the studio space. And the event description mentions that it begins with a ritual. Now, the last and darkest affiliation that I've confirmed via social media footprints is that my neighbor and a few members of the local communities are also involved in some compassionate death groups. There's no way for me to verify at this time if these affiliations overlap in a meaningful way, so I will simply state the facts that I have evidence to prove. And trying to Google just an idea of what that is, it's basically people or groups who offer bereavement services. Space to grieve, essentially. So, you know, possibly a cult, but not as culty as some cults can be. Now, my super asked me about the jumping again when I saw him today. He remains eager to act. He agreed with my new game plan to wait for another large event to happen, and then call him to check on my dishwasher so he can intervene. So for now, the ways in which the puzzle pieces of ecstatic dance, compassionate death, patio dirt rituals, and ceiling collapse connect will remain a mystery. But just about 4 days later, they come back with an update, giving us some info on their confrontation with some people from the cult, allegedly. And you'll find on. So hey everyone, thanks for your interest in my strange saga. While the contractors will be arriving at 8:30 AM tomorrow to start the patio upheaval process, I have a few updates to share since I last posted 4 days ago. So the couple and the people. The couple has gone back to elusive mode since their confrontation on Friday. I haven't seen either of them, but I heard the woman talking on the phone while checking her mail. I live by the building front door. She mentioned, "The next one is on..." Then the person on the line cut her off. But it sounded like she was planning her next workshop already. At least I'll be prepared for it, and will call my super to fake check on my dishwasher so he can bust them when the people are present. Now as for the people, I think I've identified one member of the group. On Saturday, I heard the music at an ambient level, mostly just bass, not loud enough to launch a complaint, as well as increased foot traffic in the stairwell. Since it was a weekend, these observations alone could be a coincidence. So I was in my apartment until late afternoon when I left to meet up with friends. My boyfriend has been staying with me, so I don't have to enter or exit the building alone. As we went down the stairs, I saw a man outside, standing directly in front of the building's door. My building is next to a few establishments, including a coffee shop, so it's common for people to accidentally stand in front of the doorway without realizing that it's an apartment building. But every time I open the door behind someone in my path, the other person's reaction is inevitably the exact same. Turn, quick moment of recognition, then move far out of the way. But not this guy. He was giving bouncer energy with a wide stance, clad in a black cutoff t-shirt, sunglasses, and a black baseball cap. He also had a well-groomed mustache, but that was the only identifiable feature about him. He was looking at his phone when I opened the door, but when he turned around, he looked at me, sidestepped just enough for me and my boyfriend to pass, returned to his position, and then started texting while looking at us as we got into an Uber. My boyfriend agreed that his demeanor was odd, and his doorway stance was like someone waiting to get into the building, or new people inside. He could have caught the door to go in when I was leaving though. People do that sometimes. Now after this encounter, along with the fact that I heard more people come into the building that day, a potential theory is that the group wanted to know when I would be out of my apartment so they could do their jumping routines without interruption? I mean, it's a valid theory. Now, I think I saw the same man the following day, but he was sitting on the bench next to my building's front door instead of standing. I'm also not 100% sure it was him, because he wasn't wearing the baseball cap, balding head underneath, and sat hunched over his phone so I couldn't see his face well, but I did notice the well-groomed mustache. So, in regards to the next steps, well, yesterday, my super was the one standing in front of the building. He hangs out around the block every day, but he was leaning on brick between my building's front door and the establishment to the immediate right. He told me about the 8:30 AM contractor arrival on Wednesday, but I wonder if he was also scaring off the weekend's door guard with his presence. But now for the final clues of interest. So I'm Instagram friends with the person who lives on the 3rd floor of my building. She looks a little older than me, mid-30s, but we have similar energy and lifestyles. Now unlike me, she is a big Burning Man person. Not sure if the couple actually went, their music just reminded me of it. So there was a small chance that I'm living in a Rosemary's Baby scenario. And just reading the blurb of that movie, okay, I hope not. That's... Spoiler alert, Turns out the people living around her are some like satanic cult and her child is the spawn of the devil. Okay, so I decided to message her on Sunday to find out if she knew anything, my Instagram friend. She said she was sorry about my ceiling, confirmed that she's heard the loud music a few random times inside, and agreed the dirt spreading sounded bizarre. She hadn't witnessed anything, she just doesn't seem like the investigative type, but she did send me a short video with her view of the patio. And this is where it gets interesting. Something's about to tell you that it might not exactly be the dirt that is the biggest issue behind this patio. So while the patio's appearance was nondescript to an average viewer, there were a few strange things that stood out to me. So on the day my super chipped off all my unstable ceiling plaster, on Friday, I also heard a power drill and potentially I saw at work on the patio overhead. Of course, I assumed some preliminary work was taking place to prepare for the contractors, so I didn't think anything of it. But in the Sunday video, the video her friend had sent, there were a lot of plants all around the perimeter of the patio. The center of the patio was empty, no objects, while a wicker couch was positioned in the corner directly above my damage site. Which is a bit weird, considering the neighbors with their fake smiles and confrontation were talking about some recent rainfall. Why would they have a couch on their patio when there was rainfall? Why this is weird. Okay, first, I used to be able to see an outdoor dining table and at least 4 plastic chairs in the center area. Maybe they got rid of these when they called 1-800-JUNK. Second, plants would potentially explain some of the dirt, but why was there a couch atop the area with ceiling collapsed instead of plants? The couch was likely moved to that spot recently since it was, allegedly, rainfall that caused the water damage overload. I mean, a wicker couch would have shielded that entire area from excess water. Now, third, like I said, I swear I heard a power drill and saw on Friday afternoon. But from the video, all the wood planks looked intact. In fact, the entire patio looked undisturbed despite the fact that contractors are coming and will need a clear space. So, is it possible that they got a head start with work in the water damage area and then covered up the opening with the couch? Maybe they wanted to clear some of the evidence. I haven't heard any sounds of moving objects, i.e. plants or couch, since I saw the video on Sunday, so I'm wondering what their game plan is for the contractors. I would explain to them at least move the plants, and the couch will ultimately have to move since my super said they'll be tearing up the entire deck to make sure my ceiling is safe again. So now we move over to the latest story that is from Sunday earlier this week, where the cult leader begins to confront her more thoroughly. And oh my goodness, is it such that, it's that typical confrontation you're about to see. For those who are familiar with my unsettling neighborly encounters, I have a mix of both terrifying and somewhat encouraging updates to share. So on Monday, my super came to replaster my bedroom ceiling. First, he said that my neighbor told the contractors she has a lot of plants because she makes bush medicines. She's also told him that dancing is a part of her professional practice as a healer for people who are in bereavement after the loss of a loved one. So my friend and I weren't far off when we made the connection between her ecstatic dance and compassionate death affiliations. Well, I showed him new cracks in my living room ceiling that are growing in size and number by the day. He told me to send videos of the cracks to building management, but management suggested I start with a handwritten note by their door explaining how their behaviors are wreaking havoc in my life. Yeah, good on you, management. That'll solve the issue of the physical destruction to come ahead. Hey guys, stop please. Gonna need you to stop that. Since the super was working in my apartment, my neighbor was actively bumping music and jumping. I wrote a note in which I requested she reduce the volume of her music and be mindful of the intensity of her activities. I explained that the jumping or dancing was causing significant new cracks in my living room ceiling, and I offered for her to speak with me directly if needed. Now, while I was reluctant to suggest this, I knew she might try another stalking trick if I didn't give her the option up front. See the letter for reference. She says, "Hi neighbors, could you please reduce the music volume and be mindful of your activity's intensity? I work from home and am able to hear the music from my apartment throughout the day. The jumping or dancing is also causing significant new cracks in my living room ceiling. If you would like to discuss in person or take a look at the cracks, feel free to stop by my apartment. Thank you, all the best, OP." And honestly, it seemed like this woman was waiting for OP to do this. So, I sent the note. After 90 minutes, my super said he had to leave for an hour while the plaster dried, but he would be back soon. Of course, my neighbor chose the end of this time frame to come down, when I was alone. When I opened the door, she again had the biggest fake smile and said, "Hi," then waved the note. "First of all," she said, "I want to thank you for your open communication. That is so important and so rare in our city." Fake flattery. She admitted that she dances, which she has to do for my mental health. But she claimed that she only dances in the mornings for 30 to 60 minutes or 90 minutes max. And you're gonna make that claim to the person who literally lives underneath you and knows that that is not true. Like, they hear you when you're dancing around. So I knew she was lying. So I said that her actions are affecting my mental health. And so it begins, the battle of mental healths. Well, see, now I'm someone who really cares and respects mental health, but unfortunately, I can't respect yours because, I'm more important. Well, she followed up with a range of excuses, including that they have been in the process of rearranging furniture, unpacking boxes, and they sometimes watch movies in the evening with their loud speakers. I showed her the cracks that were immediately visible from my doorway area. She pointed to one and said, "Oh, see, we used to have one table over there, but now we have two due to the furniture rearranging. So maybe that's the reason? We also have cracks in our ceiling and, we all have to share this space." It's the thing is, that if you said any of this kind of stuff to this woman, she'd accuse you of gaslighting her, of dismissing her concerns and her mental health and feelings. Oh, but not because she's the one doing it. No, this is okay. She's just reasoning. I asked her about hosting any large events in the past month, which she flat out denied. She briefly mentioned that she does sessions, but she didn't elaborate further. The following suggestion, I later realized, was entrapment. My neighbor said she would give me her phone number, go upstairs and lower the volume, then I should text her to let her know if I could still hear it. But thankfully, in the nick of time, my super came back while she was in the process of sharing her contact information. She immediately tensed up, quickly gave me the number, then scurried off. As she passed my super, she randomly blurted out, "We're best friends now," referring to me and her. Yeah, sure you are. My super and I are both very aware of the antics, so of course he didn't buy that manipulation tactic. I texted her that I couldn't hear the music now, to which she responded, "So glad to hear that. Thanks again for opening a line of communication. I'm always happy to chat. Hope you have a lovely day." Prayer hands plus a heart emoji. In retrospect, I think she wasn't playing the music at all. I also felt like our conversation was riddled with gaslighting, misdirection, and flat-out lies. I was somewhat confused, but I know what I've been experiencing and have plenty of evidence to prove it. I love this, as this woman is stupid enough to think that this is a defensible argument. Like the contractors and the super are all gonna go away now because this one time the OP confirmed that the music wasn't too loud. Good thing you didn't mention anything about the videos you have. Well, within hours of our conversation, my neighbor started up the loud music and dancing as if nothing happened. Yeah, remember how she said she only dances in the mornings for only like 30 minutes? I was furious. I took new audio recordings and immediately emailed the building management with my new evidence. Footage of the ceiling cracks, along with a photo of my note, which is this video here, and it gets a bit hard to see the cracks completely with this video. You can kind of see it there a bit more easily. And yeah, they're pretty long cracks going all the way down the entire ceiling, pretty much. It's not just a tiny little corner now. This is the entire ceiling. Just look at that. That is pretty evident. Oh my god, I didn't see that it was this deep earlier. I also explained that my neighbor was kind, though somewhat misleading, and expressed interest in accommodating my requests. I also said her behaviors were continuing as normal despite the false claims that she would take my experiences into account. The building manager said to keep her updated, but it was clear she assumed the situation would be resolved on its own. How can you be a building manager and completely ignore someone pointing out that their ceiling is falling apart? Well, nope. My neighbor continued with the incessant bass-heavy music and jumping shenanigans the next day and the day after. I continued to document everything. Now, on Wednesday evening, I went out for a quick errand and again was a victim of the stalking tricks. She ran into me as I was entering the building, waited until I passed her on the stairwell, and then spoke up. She acknowledged that I've probably still been hearing her activities the past couple days, and that I will continue to hear them for the next few days, all due to rearranging furniture. She said the coffee table had been sold that day. Not true. I was working in my living room all day and would have heard such a commotion in the stairwell. I said yes. I've been hearing her loud and clear. Well, shortly after this in-person encounter, my neighbor went on to host a party. I heard people in the stairwell who seemed unfamiliar with whose apartment they were even visiting, and one guest introduced herself as a friend of someone else. Now, while the music was much lower, the group began running back and forth overhead. Hearing these strange activities without the music was somewhat creepier than the music. I took more recordings, then retreated to my bedroom. But, of course, the group decided to migrate to their patio, right above my head again. Yeah, you want to hear that peaceful happy birthday serenade? Peaceful. Like, I don't know about you, but that sounds even creepier than the music. Why do we as humans sing something that's meant to be a joyous occasion with such a minor key? By 10:30 p.m., I had enough. They were no longer dancing, but the group's chatter along with ethereal music, a female soprano singing vocalizations, was too much. I sent her a text. I explained that I understand she has every right to host guests in her space, but I was perturbed by the way she said to my face that any excess noise I might hear in the coming days was from rearranging furniture. I said I could hear music and conversations very clearly as the noise filters through my aircon unit. I also said to please let me know if they will be hosting events in the future so I'm not caught off guard. Now, while my neighbor didn't respond that night, within minutes of me sending the message, the group began to sing Happy Birthday in the most somber way I've heard it sung. I was able to record the second half of it. They sang in a monotone, and there was no clapping, cheering, or any standard signs of merriment that occur after singing the song, as you already heard. So the following afternoon, my neighbor sent me a wall of text, in which she continued to lie. She said that the gathering was a very small, only 4 friends, so it didn't even cross her mind to let me know she saw me earlier, when she also said it was the first time they had hosted more than 2 people over this entire year. I honestly had to laugh at that. Yes, let's note it is currently October. And this all started 6 months ago? Yeah, sure. She said when she first saw my text, they lowered the music volume and told the friends to quiet down. So she admitted that she saw my message, but made no mention of any birthday affair. As for the furniture rearranging, she explained that it's been part of a longer-term project, and added more lies, like how they just received a dining table and bookshelf they'd been waiting on for 8 months. And not only would I have seen such large packages at the stairwell, but also, why share so much irrelevant information if being truthful? Finally, my neighbor said that they will be hosting 2 more events next week, another small gathering of 4 friends next Wednesday in honor of her partner's birthday, and a larger gathering on Friday, again for his birthday. Like I said, she had made no mention of singing Happy Birthday the night before. Who would host 3 birthday parties over 2 weeks? It was all false. She followed up 5 minutes later with a second text that explained she was late to respond because she's been in back-to-back sessions. So I finally had written evidence of her talking about these sessions. Which is great. You've got the evidence of the audio, evidence of the cracking, and now evidence that she's using her home as a business. I didn't respond to the text. I refused to engage her or her partner any further. They continued to play music and stomp around that evening, but I had my boyfriend and a friend over who heard everything and validated me that all of this is absolutely maddening. But that's impossible, because that's the evening, and she said she only does it in the mornings though. OP, you're insane, clearly, because that woman said she only dances around in the mornings, guys. Clearly the OP's just wrong. On Friday, I finally called my building manager to explain everything. She needed to understand that something very strange and potentially dangerous is going on above me. Now, thankfully, I was finally believed. It turns out my building had no idea that she was running some form of a business and hosting group events. I thought they at least had a vague awareness. The building manager said they would get the attorney involved ASAP to review their lease contract and pursue action. She asked for all my evidence, including written communications, a personal written account of verbal communications, audio recordings, and footage of ceiling damage. I've been taking videos of the ceiling cracks over the past few weeks to demonstrate how quickly they're growing. I made a Google folder that divided each category, dated every piece of evidence, and sent. I was so relieved. It felt like some form of action was finally in motion. I assumed the building attorney was working on a case against them over the weekend, so I ignored their relentless music and jumping. But today, Sunday, my neighbors have been hosting yet another gathering since 11:30 a.m. I've been hearing heavy bass, sporadic jumping, and chatting on their patio for going on 7.5 hours now. While I've continued to collect my evidence, I decided to wait until tomorrow to check in with management. But around 5 p.m., I was quietly sitting on my couch when out of nowhere I heard the door open from above. Someone jogged down and then pounded on my front door. I didn't move a muscle. The person on the other side waited for about a minute. I thought I heard keys jingling, and then they slowly retreated back upstairs and shut the door again. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on now. The music and jumping increased after the knocking incident. Maybe they were testing if I was home? But I'm rattled by how I'm feeling watched when I'm minding my own business. At the same time, I want to keep playing low to protect myself. I still have very little information about this group. They're clearly escalating. 3 events planned in 1 week, despite added pressure from everyone around them. In the meantime, I edited a new video with my recent recordings, including the creepiest happy birthday of all time, footage of the living room ceiling damage, audio recordings from the gatherings. Whenever my neighbors succeed in making contact or I'm notified about a solid resolution, I will update the post. Which, as you saw earlier, was this entire video, basically just showing the note as well as the cracks in the ceiling. Beautiful. What lovely aesthetics. Now, quick comment I just want to highlight straight away. This is a good point. I just hope the dirt is not human ashes with all the weird ritual stuff for departed and all. Like, yo, it literally could be. That could be why they're freaking out, because they realize they have human remains underneath their floorboards. I know your probably immediate thought was like drugs or stuff, but wouldn't that be worse? Is that illegal? To be putting human remains? To be just like buried in an apartment to crack floorboard? Now, in case your thought is also to maybe get a Ring camera, well, that has been suggested in the comments, and just a day ago, the OP has commented, I'm getting a battery-powered Ring this week. I don't technically need permission, but I wanted to keep management updated in case the unit above tries to complain. We also decided that the Ring camera footage can be used as further evidence that they're continuing to run a business from inside the apartment. They are, I can still hear it, which is an absolute violation of the lease contract. And that's really all the information that is available so far. Boo, hello, it's me, what's this, 5 days later. Back again after having to keep delaying this thing because there's just so much more different little information that comes out. So an update to things, the building management's lawyer had contacted them last night, which results in this big update. Hey everyone, sorry for the delay. Last week was unexpectedly chaotic, so I figured I'd wait until I had a better handle on the current situation before updating. So Tuesday evening, my boyfriend and I were making dinner when we began to hear a standard outburst of stomping and clomping overhead. While I've continued to document the most egregious incidents since building management promised to pursue legal action, I've also tried to block out some of the sounds for the sake of my mental health. Now, but remember, OP, your mental health doesn't matter compared to the other woman who lives upstairs. My boyfriend pointed out the shenanigans from above. He was genuinely startled, to which I replied, I told you it's maddening. Now, about 15 minutes after the upstairs settled down, my flimsy front doorbell rang. I crept over to look through the peephole and cringed. My neighbors were on the other side of the door, standing like statues with hands behind their backs and heads cast down. Their determined stance signaled that there was no way they would leave until I answered. If I chose to ignore, I knew they would either return, send a text, or stalk me on the street again. Since my boyfriend was present, I figured this confrontation was the safest option, so I waved him over with fear in my eyes that conveyed all he needed to know. When I opened the door, there were no fake smiles. However, in typical fashion, my neighbors began the conversation with a misdirection. "I just wanted to check in with you since you never responded to my text," the woman said. "Was there something in the language, or—" Now keep in mind, our final text exchange had been over 2 weeks prior, so I knew that was not the point of their visit. I told her the language was fine, I just didn't know what to say. From there, the gaslighting and denial campaign took a full-in swing. I told my neighbors we had just heard commotion minutes before their arrival, which elicited reactions of pure shock. Their excuse, "Are you ready?" "Oh, we were just drinking tea," chuckles. "Yeah, we were just sitting on the couch drinking tea." That is some very aggressive tea. The rest of the conversation, which I tried to end 3 times before they finally got to the point of their check-in, went similarly. Every statement I made was returned with expressions of bewilderment, as if I was speaking in tongues, and every response was riddled with lies. At times, the couple would accidentally contradict themselves as well, such as, "Well, that one Wednesday party was the first time we had people over in 2022. Since 2020. Right, since 2020. And we didn't have any other parties that weekend, especially not on Sunday. No, Sunday is when we have our dance class." "Yeah, and we were hungover on that Sunday from our party." They also claimed they're too old to be partiers, even though they allegedly held 3 birthday parties in honor of the guy. Since my neighbor is a dancer, her body language became amusingly expressive, as if her motions would somehow sway my opinions. Like at one point, the woman said, "I think we should resolve this right now," while undulating her arms toward herself, then in my direction. Like, it looked like she was attempting to send energy waves at me. Oh my god, this woman's a Jedi. "How about this?" she proposed. "How about one of you, motioning my boyfriend with both arms open, "come up to our apartment right now and walk around," swirling finger in a clockwise circle above our heads. I could tell she really wanted to invite herself into my apartment, but she sensed that wasn't an option given my stoic demeanor throughout the entire pandering episode. I told her no, we were making dinner when they interrupted. At this point, my neighbors finally admitted why they had come. They said they had received a letter that was aggressive and included additional wild accusations. The guy asked point blank, "Did you involve the building?" I told them I did because I was confused and they had not listened to my requests. I also said that I genuinely don't know what the letter says. The building manager told me to tell them that it was in the hands of management now. With that, both members of the couple said, "Okay." I said, "Okay," and they awkwardly retreated upstairs. I shut the door, heart racing. I was so glad that my boyfriend was present to witness the gaslighting and validate me. Every time I interact with them, I'm left confused as to what was even said. Within 10 minutes of the confrontation, I received a call from my super. He said that, presumably after our talk, the couple called him and asked, "What is going on?" He said, "I don't know, I'm just the super." They asked to schedule a meeting with him. He declined. The following day, it was clear that the neighbors were not happy. The woman moved their speaker and subwoofer. Yes, they admitted they have a subwoofer in their apartment, back into their living room and bumped it so loud that glasses on my bar cart were tinkling together rhythmically. I emailed the building manager with videos of the repaired ceiling, mentioned the confrontation, and attached a couple audio recordings of jumping that I had taken amid writing the note. It's true that neither my super nor I know the contents of the letter. Was it a warning or a notice that the eviction process would commence? But the building manager replied that she was sorry they came downstairs, she didn't understand why they felt the need to confront anyone, and hopefully the letter would do its job. Now, while all of this sounds like I've made my situation worse, there's now a silver lining of hope. After the increase in music and jumping on Wednesday and Thursday, I noticed a stark change on Friday. I started to hear commotion as if the couple was either soundproofing their entire unit or in the act of moving, I think rearranging furniture, but for real this time. I heard items being dragged, loud bangs, and a power drill. The moving style activities continued throughout the weekend, including Sunday morning when I saw a professional cleaner working in the building stairwell. I was leaving for a day trip. Of course, they would not be evicted at the drop of a hat. However, I think it's possible that the letter angered the couple enough to make an arrangement with the building. If they leave on their own terms, they won't be penalized for breaking the lease. The only other in-person encounter I've experienced since the confrontation was on Sunday evening. My boyfriend and I were unloading our friend's car, which was parked outside the apartment building after our day trip. It was taking some time since my boyfriend couldn't find my jacket he borrowed. Since I was preoccupied by the jacket, I didn't give any thought to the neighbors. Right as we geared up to shut the car doors and say our goodbye, I looked up to see my neighbors crossing the street, like about 15 feet in front of our car, while holding hands. They both looked to their left, made brief eye contact with blank expressions, and then continued forward. Okay, naturally this could be a coincidence, but the front window of their apartment has a direct view of the street out front. It was also somewhat late to be going out on a Sunday. They didn't enter any of the businesses that are opposite our building. Like, if they had wanted to avoid me, like it was quite conspicuous while holding a pumpkin, they could have walked on the sidewalk behind us. I asked my boyfriend if he saw them too. He did. I'll ask my super if he knows about any developments, including a potential move. The neighbors are still here, obviously, but in the meantime, my Ring camera has arrived. I'll be installing it outside my door this afternoon, which will give me a better sense of what's happening. I'll update again if I receive confirmation that they are heading out the door once and for all. If they aren't, I expect my Ring camera to provide evidence as to how many or how often people are participating in the jumping routines. When I woke up this morning, I immediately heard some of my overhead light fixtures shaking as the neighbors danced to music with hand drums and a singer shouting in a foreign language. So, my torture continues, but signs point to a peaceful, or at least a peace-restoring, resolution on the horizon. So yep, still waiting on a proper conclusion. Honestly, I think I'm going to make that full video not going to bother waiting and holding off any longer. Let's just get this out there. If there's an update, we'll get absolutely straight onto it as soon as we can. But for now, it seems like things are resolving pretty peacefully and not as horrific as they could. So with that said, thank you again for watching today's video. Make sure you drink some water today, because it's a thing you need to do apparently as humans. Ugh, such a weakness. Anyway, love your face, and until next time, you be good. Bye-bye!